Okay, we're looking at Art Johnson's paper now, and I'm actually starting on the works cited sheet because I want to show you all something. Not to be picky, but look here. So a lot of students want to use a template. I call these templates. I really don't understand what else to call them, and they really make it difficult for me to mess with your paper. So I really would appreciate if you guys would not use these templates. If you use your works, if you use a writer's reference and look up how to cite your certain sources, it's not really that hard. And then, of course, you can do your, you would do with hanging indent. See, I can't do anything with that. So I would really appreciate it if you guys would get rid of these templates. Okay, sorry, Art, for picking on you, but it applies to a lot of people. So other than that, I pulled this up to the top here. That's how I discovered that there was an issue. Also, just to look, these right here, see what I'm talking about? I can't even do anything with it. These citations are not correct. They are just not correct. This is inaccurate here. Even when it was 2000, when it was MLA 7th edition, we wouldn't have the word website. So Art, I'm challenging you to please review your citations. Don't use this template, because if that's what's misled you, then that's it. If these are games, and I think they might be, games are not, they're italicized. So we need to do that, and because that will help correct these. When they're italicized, then it makes the rest of this make more sense. Okay, so enough about that. Get your works cited citations correct. Okay, so Art's paper is about video games are works of art. Huh. Punny, right? Okay, so I have done quite a bit of marking up here. It's overall a good paper, and it's a neat paper, but I do have a few different suggestions and some markings on the front end. So kind of like with my on-ground class, I've asked, is there some way you can start this paper? And let's show how it originally started. You started your paper, I get into this debate with friends often enough. So see what happens with that is when you jump right in, okay, even though we have a title, pretend like that title's not there. So you need to explain everything. I have a lot of students who kind of try to use the title as the first part of their paper, and really it's a separate entity. Anyway, so you started it, I get into this debate with friends, and see how you're saying this debate. This is a pronoun, demonstrative pronoun, and we're not, the audience does not technically know yet what debate you're talking about. You kind of just jump into the topic. So the first thing I would like for you to do is to try to come up with a way to open the paper that gets the reader's attention a little bit more. Maybe, I'm thinking if you can describe a scene from a video game, the brilliant colors, the attention to detail, something like that. Describe the scene. You'll explain, what this image is from, and then you can get into your introduction. Then you can start the same language, same paragraph, but then just lead into, can video games be considered art? Then you can say, I get into this debate with friends often enough. One friend says yes, another says no way. It is a question that has been asked for years now by all types of people. Articles have been written about it, YouTube videos have been made, and blogs have been written. My idea of art is something that is an expression of the artist, whether that is a painting, a song, a sculpture, or yes, a video game. So you had a fragment here originally on the back end, and I just kind of cleaned that up for you so you can kind of see what that looks like when it's all said and done. So watch your everyone. This is every video that I'm doing. You can learn something from it. Okay, so let's look at punctuation. When we have someone says, we need a comma, and I just left it lowercase because this is really casual here. And semicolons, usually your punctuation goes inside quotation marks, but not semicolons. They actually get to go in between there. But your period here, see, does go inside the quotation mark. So make sure you do not forget that. All right. So this next paragraph is the one I've really messed with. I need to remind everybody to make sure that your paragraphs are focused, and really you should have multiple sources per paragraph. Now, This first body paragraph of arts is not going to be that way. It is covering, it's coming from one source, but it's sort of an introduction to like even the next paragraph. So I'm going to, it's fine as corrected. You need to make sure that you are picking the information that really matters to the overall argument. So originally, Art just started in 2016. There was a video game exhibited at an art. Let's see, video game at an art exhibit at a museum in Chicago. So, doesn't roll off the tongue. Also, we're starting with really specific information that is source material, and I ask you guys to not include source material in your topic sentences. So I've created a different topic sentence for art here. Yes, it's a question. I'm not usually a fan of questions as topic sentences, but this one works. It leads into the conversation. So, if an object is put on display in a museum's art exhibit, isn't it considered art? And see how that is your argument right here is that, well, it's been in a museum. So, anyway, and then the answer then is, well, in 2016, there was a video game exhibited as art at a museum in Chicago. An article by Ryan Smith talks about this exhibit. So we don't need to repeat words. So repeating art over and over, repeating Chicago is unnecessary. But you do have your page numbers cited correctly here. The exhibit showed the video game by William Shirer called Manifold Garden. We need to italicize game titles. This game is a gravity-defying puzzle game that traffics in profound ideas about architecture, physics, and the mysteries of the universe. I took assumptions that these were different, but if they're not, please just go back and correct them. The interesting thing is the game still has not been released. I'm not a huge fan of this sentence because I hate the word thing. But that's an interesting bit of information. I'm not sure that it's necessary for the argument, but you can decide whether to leave it there or not. William Shirer has been working on the game since 2013. And then we get into, you're getting away from the argument here. The point of this paragraph is that this video game was displayed as art. So we don't need to focus necessarily on the interview or the people that were there too much, okay? Keep it focused. The exhibit shows stills of the game around as Shirer plays his creation. The game has many levels, and all the backgrounds seem to be paintings. They look a lot like paintings from M.C. Escher. Here's some corrections. While the game is clearly on exhibit as art, some of the attending viewers do not see it that way and question its being called such. So here's an important thing. We only quote when the author's words or the original words are just so wonderful that we can't paraphrase them. And so this is really not a necessary quote here. You can just paraphrase it. Shirer never explains how his game is art. Instead, he says, it really does feel like French New Wave with film, and I'm an active participant. I mean, I'm not Godard, but it's like, I probably know the Godard of games. Make sure this quote is correct, because I don't really know. This should be italicized, if it's not already. Manifold Garden does indeed have many artistic attributes. Now, it's possible that you can come in with something else here. I do not know this game at all. Here's what I'm challenging you and everyone else in the class. Don't use first person point of view. It's okay to use it when you're quoting, right? So this is Shirer's wording here. But for yourself, you can just flat out say what it is. Manifold Garden does indeed have many artistic attributes. And you might continue something like that may entice a player, or I don't know, something to that effect. Go ahead and finish this thought out. Okay, so when we click off the corrections, you can see that did shorten it up, and it needed to be a little bit shorter because your paragraphs really don't need to be over a half a page. And this works. And then the next sentence, it says, other museums are also showing video games as works of art. That's a perfectly good transition topic sentence for the next paragraph, leading away from this paragraph. All right, so looks like you get into some specific video games and designers that were artists, and that's a common thread, I think. Okay, now this conclusion. I've been playing video games since 1979. As a child, I started playing on a Commodore 64 with my father. We then played on an Atari. So you go on and tell about the different games that you've played. And you get here, video games still invoke feelings of joy and sometimes anger. I feel art, whether it be a painting, a poem. So here's what I am saying here. Let's get rid of the first person point of view. For one thing, while all of this is nice and sentimental information, it does not really add to the argument. Instead, you should focus on how video games can invoke feelings of joy and anger, and just like art does, and therefore video games should be considered art. And you can say all that without ever saying I, okay? Oh, there was one more thing too. Here I see YOU some. So be sure that we are removing you absolutely. That is non-negotiable. YOU does not belong in an academic essay. And really I doesn't either. So work on removing that. Overall, pretty good paper. It's a good start. Ooh, I see something. Okay. Roger Ebert, video games can be art. Look right here, and I've mentioned this to a few different people. We do not need, if your source does not have actual page numbers, so this is the Ebert source, and it is a website, which this needs work so bad, but anyway, it's a website. It has no, websites don't have page numbers, and so please don't try to put them in there, because depending on, even if you printed the information off, it would just depend on what your printer was set on, what kind of printer you used, whatever. So if it does not have actual page numbers, then don't attempt to use them. That's the difference between this source. Let me show you. This source. See how it has page numbers? Again, needs lots of work. This is not in MLA 8th edition. So guys, get your writer's reference out for MLA 4B. That's where you need to be looking to make sure that you are citing these correctly. Okay, good job overall, Art. I look forward to your revised paper. Thanks a lot.